You never understand what people go through until you actually live it.
It was a complete and utter betrayal.
Maybe if I would have kept my mouth shut, maybe if I would have just let things lie. 2 women were fighting over him. I'm scared for my daughter's life.
I want to speak with all 3 of these people.
Is he telling the truth?
It was no longer a missing persons case. We were looking at a homicide.
So this is where my daughter spent her last moments. You stop and think, I'm never gonna see my daughter again.
It's like someone grabbed your heart and ripped it out.
I do feel betrayed.
I think we're filming. Okay.
I'm checking the camera. I can't get focused.
Was she alive while this was all happening?
It's surreal to think this really happened.
This is hard. I'm signing off.
This is my story.
My story.
My story.
Our story.
In our own words.
And it's unfiltered.
I'm coming to visit Christina's grave. Got her some roses because she loves her roses. It's been a little over a year since I've lost my daughter, Chrissy. I sit and I talk to Christina and I tell her how much I miss her and how much I wish she was here. The greatest loss a parent could ever deal with is the murder of their child. Okay, so I'm gonna introduce you guys to Miss Little Haley. Getting her through it, I've not really had the opportunity to process my own thoughts and my own feelings. So this is my time to do all this. It's just going to be really difficult, but I'm ready to start this. What you got going on?
Baby pictures of me and Mom.
Chrissy was born August 19th, 1989. I was only 18 when I had Chrissy. Chrissy had beautiful brown eyes. She looked up at me when she was first born and my heart just melted. I just fell in love with her instantly. As Chrissy got older, she loved to play and she loved being around people.
Chrissy was fun. She loved to laugh. She wanted to believe the best in everybody.
Oh look, there's your mom.
That's when she was pregnant with me.
She wasn't really... Chrissy became pregnant at 15. Chrissy was really proud to have Haley. She loved that girl so much.
Oh, that's me and Mom.
Yeah, there you go. There's a picture of you and your mom. Haley's father was not around, so Chrissy was basically raising this little girl on her own.
Bath time.
First time bath. I
First
remember that.
bath home?
She was so nervous to give you a bath. Chrissy had a lot on her plate at age 16.
She tried to be the best mom that she could be. And Haley was the light of her life.
Chrissy and Troy met When Chrissy was around 16, Troy was in his 30s.
She met Troy right down the road from her house. He had worked around the corner. It turned into what she thought was a love match.
We did not agree on the relationship. I felt he was too old for her. But Chrissy was determined. She said she loved him. Christina was determined to make sure that her children had a home and had both parents, because she didn't grow up with her dad being in the household. Okay, so I'm here at Christina's old house. It's run down now. It's not like it was. It's just really emotional. And being back here in quite a long time, being actually here, looking at this house and the way it is. It breaks my heart to see this home so abandoned. There's no life in this home anymore. Because when Chrissy and the kids were here, there was so much life, so much love. And there was just so much that was supposed to carry on in this house, and it did not get a chance to happen.
Troy was very controlling. He was a lot older, he knew what he wanted, and Chrissy was still trying to grow up at this point. Chrissy would get very frustrated with Troy, because Troy had an old school mindset. Troy wanted a wife that would stay at home, do all the cooking, the cleaning, take care of the children. She had a hard time.
Troy would put Christina down, telling her that she was stupid, she didn't do anything right, she was a terrible mom. He would mentally abuse her in a lot of ways. I would get late night phone calls and I'd run over here. I remember one night, cops were called. Troy had to leave the premises. But that's the night it all began, when she said she had enough. She wanted to start divorce proceedings. She wanted to be legally separated. Chrissy had also been ill. She found out she had cancer in the cervix, and she had a procedure done. And she was down for quite a bit. Chrissy and Brooke grew up together. They were kind of inseparable in a lot of ways. They had a special relationship. When one was hurting, the other one was hurting. When one needed something, the other one was there to help each other out.
It was Cousin Chrissy and Cousin Brooke. And it was a family.
Brooke was like, she was my niece, even though we weren't blood. Brooke and Dan helped Christina a lot when she went through her surgery.
Brooke and Dan have been together for a decade at least.
When I got introduced to Dan, I watched him with the kids. I watched him around, you know, my girls, and he was really good. Gina, Dan, Brooke, all took turns taking care of Christina when she had her surgery. But then there was one night that I came, and Christina was in her bedroom, and she couldn't really get out of bed at the time. But I noticed that Dan wasn't going home. I told Dan, I said, you can go, I'm gonna stay the night. And Dan wouldn't leave. And I was kind of confused, and I had some questions there. I asked Brooke, I said, kind of curious why Dan didn't come home to you last night. Brooke was shocked to hear that I was there. I think the biggest question for her was, why did he stay and didn't come home to her? Brooke came over a day or two later and wanted to confront Christina. Chrissy realized that I had talked to Brooke about this situation. And then Dan took me aside and said, yeah, I'm in a relationship with your daughter, and it's been going on for a little while. And I was dumbfounded.
Brooke and Chrissy were like cousins, best friends, and that was Brooke's partner. It was a complete and utter betrayal in Brooke's eyes, but you can't help who you love. And that's all Chrissy ever wanted, was somebody to love, somebody to treat her right. She never got that with Troy, so she thought, maybe this is my second chance. I can finally be happy.
From that day forward, Chrissy decided that Dan was moving in to this house that Chrissy and Troy had bought together. And I think in a way, her dream home turned into a nightmare for her. Troy was angry because with the divorce hearing and everything, Troy wanted the house. He wanted to be in the house, and he wanted the children.
She was afraid that Troy was going to get custody of the kids, and that was the last thing she wanted. Troy had never been to a single doctor appointment. He didn't know anything about the kids. She did everything. I don't think he wanted Chrissy to be happy, to the point where he had violated the protective order, I don't even know how many times, and there was nothing that could be done.
Things are just getting way out of control. I'm scared for my daughter's life. This house holds a lot more memories. Troy gave Chrissy ultimatums. Dan had to be out of the house, but my daughter truly believed that she was in love with Dan.
Dan would constantly go back and forth between Brooke and Chrissy. One minute he's with Brooke, he'd get mad at Brooke, he'd go to Chrissy. He'd get mad at Chrissy, he'd go back to Brooke.
I got the sense that Dan didn't mind the back and forth because I think he was intrigued that two women were fighting over him. The back and forth game, showing up here, arguing, threatening, the constant text messages. A lot of that happened in this house. Brooke and Chrissy were such great friends. Never would I have ever thought these two girls would be at odds with each other over a guy. And I feel bad because I'm the one that brought it out, because I raised the questions. Maybe if I would have kept my mouth shut, maybe if I would have just let things lie. You know, you go over those scenarios of what if.
Chrissy and Dan started fighting a lot. I think Chrissy finally found her voice, like she was willing to stand up for herself. And Dan wanted the meek and docile Chrissy that he had known throughout the years of her relationship in Troy.
And then I find out that Dan has now physically harmed my daughter and put her in the hospital. This is Silver Beach, is the last place Chrissy and Troy brought the kids up here early June. The kids like to come and play at the carousel. They were trying to kind of work some things out before the divorce hearing. She just wanted to move on with her children and get a better life. She called me and she said, "Mom, I got the job." And she was just ecstatic about having a job and being able to financially take care of her children. Me and Haley were supposed to meet her at the apartment, and she was going to contact us to let us know when she was on her way there. I didn't realize that that day was going to be the last day that I got to see her alive. She never called, and then we called her and nobody answered. She didn't respond to a text message. She didn't respond to our phone calls. We didn't know if there was maybe a car accident. We didn't know if she ended up in the emergency room. I made the decision to call the police.
After speaking with Mary Robinson, I started looking at our history with Christina. I had seen that she was a victim of domestic violence and a lot of different, we call them invasion of privacy or harassment cases, dealing with her husband, Troy Woods. But initially, we had no evidence to suggest that anything criminal or anything bad had happened to Christina. We just couldn't find her.
I went through the whole list of anybody that could have seen her or talked to her. Nobody had seen or heard from her. Okay, so I am going to look at some videos that I did when Chrissy first came up missing. Hi everyone. I'm out driving in this heat looking for my daughter. She's still missing. We're still looking for her. Please help me find my daughter. Please. The day of the court hearing, in my mind and in my heart, Chrissy was going to show up at the courthouse because that was the day she was going to hopefully get sole custody of the kids. So I'm here at the Mishawaka courthouse. This was a very important day for Christina and her children. We were so hoping that she would appear at the courthouse to get her final say on her divorce. She didn't show up here. She didn't come, and that's not like Christina. She was very adamant, very strong-headed when it came to doing what was right for her children, and that was taking them and giving them a better life. Deep inside, my gut instinct is telling me that there is something seriously wrong. And reliving through coming to the courthouse and knowing that she didn't show up that day. It's heart-wrenching. It makes you rethink on things you could have done, things that you could have said, things that maybe could have helped.
Troy Woods had a short conversation with Christina. He detailed to me as an argument where she wouldn't really tell where she was at or who she was with. He wasn't sure if it was she hung up on him or if it was a slamming of a car door noise or some kind of a noise in the background before it went dead.
When you're hearing from the police that Troy received a call, I couldn't help but raise the question, is he telling the truth? Or is this a way of him throwing something way out there to throw the officers off the trail?
With the initial, investigation, the three main people that stand out to me, Troy, the husband, Daniel, the boyfriend, and Daniel's wife, Brooke. I want to speak with all three of these people. Troy's got reasons. He's, in the process of separation with Christina, and child custody issues could come out of this thing. Daniel Lynn, he had a domestic violence charge against Christina a month prior to her disappearance. The third option being, Brooke. Christina was having an affair with Brooke's husband.
You have three people who benefit with my daughter not being here.
We made several attempts to contact Daniel and Brooke and was not able to get them to come into an interview to speak with us. Only Troy would cooperate.
So, coming to Town and Country Shopping Center, Christina and I would come here and go shopping with her and the kids. I knew this would be a good place to come out and put flyers out for her. Officers are telling you have to stand by the phone or you have to stay in one place, and I couldn't do that.
Mary was still very active, and some things that she was doing was very helpful for our case.
On the day that I came here to hand the flyers out to look for her, that was a very difficult, unhappy time in my life. I felt so lost, but yet I felt so desperate to seek her out, just to get any information I could, to get people on board to helping us.
The longer that the investigation took, the doubt starts to grow in your mind that something may have happened to her.
There's this fear that just comes over you and this panic. So my thing is keep reposting her picture. Keep talking to people. I reached out to the news centers to get the story out there.
Almost 2 weeks later, Mary fears something terrible has happened to her daughter.
I want answers. I want answers to where my daughter is.
We had started doing different investigative things that we do to try to locate this missing person. Since her last monthly deposit of her income, she had not touched this card. So that really drew a lot of attention for us to know that this person's missing. She's not using her cards. She has no other known sources of income to support herself. So there may have been something way more than just a missing persons case. We also had subpoenaed Christina's cell phone records. The very last indication of hers, she had headed north of Duluth, Minnesota. Mary had mentioned in her initial report that Daniel Lynn had traveled to Minnesota. After more investigative work, we found family connections to Daniel Lynn that owned a cabin in St. Louis County, Minnesota, nearby where this last cell phone ping was at.
June 26, 2018, I received a call from the St. Joseph County Police Department in South Bend, Indiana. They informed us they had a missing person by the name of Christina Woods and asked us to go up and look at the property owned by a family member of Daniel Lynn's and see if we could find anything. The property is approximately 80 acres. It's not inhabited. It hasn't been inhabited for about 5 years. The grass had been recently mowed within the last couple of weeks. You could see there had been activity around there. Through the windows, you could see a gallon of bleach and a pair of rubber gloves, which we felt was odd due to the fact that we know nobody lives on that property. The records show that he made a purchase at Menards, which is about an hour from Cook, Minnesota. And on the surveillance video, I had clear pictures of Daniel Lynn and Christina Woods. Every shot that we had of them, she was walking approximately 10 feet behind Daniel with her arms crossed. It looked like she was maybe upset. It was the evidence that we'd been looking for that she was there, but it also made us feel even stronger that some harm may have come to her. We returned to the Lynn property with a search warrant. The Lynn family gave us access to go inside the building. We didn't find any obvious evidence that Christina had been there. But in walking around the property, we did find a fire pit adjacent to the house. There had been something burned in the fire pit. We then sifted the entire fire pit area and located many items. Pieces of cell phones, there was pieces of bracelets. So it was obvious that somebody was trying to destroy something for a reason.
So Mark is sending me these photographs of the different items that he had located in the burn pit and trying to identify if any of these belonged to Christina. We weren't able to find anything until he sent us a picture of a token.
It was a token that when we cleaned it up, it was from the Silver Beach Carousel in Michigan, which was very unique.
This immediately jumps out to me, knowing from the investigation that Christina, just weeks prior to her disappearance, had taken her children to go ride on this carousel.
That just told us right there that this was Christina's belongings and that Christina had been there or is still there someplace.
How are you feeling right now?
Nervous. It's like almost, I can't really breathe.
Have you ever seen the property? Any photos or anything?
I have never seen one photo, one thing to do with this property. I've never seen the home. how big the property is or anything. This is going to be my first time. Oh, my hands are sweating.
We organized our rescue squad to come in and search the property with a fine-tooth comb. Unfortunately, about halfway through the search, just a little ways up from the fire pit, we found the ground had been disturbed. Somebody had obviously tried to cover something up. We began methodically digging in that same area where the ground was disturbed until we located a shallow grave. We unfortunately found Christina buried on the property, tied up in the fetal position to make her smaller. We knew it was no longer a missing persons case and that we were looking at a homicide.
I get that phone call. Told me that they found Chrissy and that she was gone.
Daniel Lynn, of course, is, hundreds of miles away down in our county, and as soon as we get the confirmation that they had a warrant, we start looking for him. The same day that the warrant came out, we got an anonymous tip that Daniel Lynn was located in a trailer park here in our county. And we went to go apprehend him there, but we missed him.
Going through the garbage that was in the shed, we were able to locate a receipt from a gas station in Duluth, which is about 2 hours south of Cook, Minnesota. We were able to track that receipt down and get surveillance video of Daniel and Brooke Lynn at that store. Daniel had been there with his wife. I wanted to find Brooke to find out exactly what happened in Minnesota, what happened on the property with Christina. Brooke admitted to driving up in the middle of the night and finding Christina on the property with her husband, Daniel.
He called me to bring him some tools because the basement was flooded.
Right.
So I brought him the tools.
It's going to be hard, but you're going to have to tell us what happened.
I didn't do it.
I know you did. I don't believe you did it. But now I know you were there. There's no doubt. You were there and you saw what happened. Did you try and stop him? Okay. You gonna tell me what happened here?
I was told that they got into an argument. And
Who told you this?
he did.
Brooke admitted to watching Daniel kill Christina.
Choked her.
I can't hear you.
Choked her.
He choked her?
I didn't have any involvement.
I believe you. I believe you.
Buried her.
I'm sorry.
He buried her.
He buried her. Do you know where? Did you see him bury her? How do you know?
I seen cracked tools.
I'm sorry.
I seen cracked. The shovel.
Brooke tells us that he strangled Christina to death and then buried her.
Okay, we're coming up to it here pretty soon.
almost looks like it's the last house on the road.
It is. It's like so far out. Nobody could hear her scream. She had nowhere to run to for help. So this is where my daughter spent her last moments. My daughter did not deserve to die that way. She did not deserve to die a violent death. She did not deserve to be treated like that. Dan buried her like she was a piece of garbage. Like she wasn't important. I was told that today when I got up here, I'm not allowed on the property. The Lynn family does not want us on the property. I feel that they denied me my closure. We didn't get to say goodbye to Chrissy because Chrissy had to be cremated when she was taken from this property. So for now, this is the closest I get to say my goodbyes to my daughter. I'm signing off.
At this point, the investigation turned from not just building a case against Daniel Lynn, but to the main focus was finding him.
Police are actively searching for Lynn. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you're asked to contact the St. Louis County Sheriff's Office.
She had said that she was extremely scared of Daniel and she would, definitely not have any contact with this person because he was a murderer.
Okay, and if you see him, and he's threatening you or whatever, you can call 911. You can stay anonymous. Just say Daniel Lynn is wanted out of Minnesota for a homicide, and here he is. The safest place is for him to be in custody. The safest place for you is for him to be in custody.
We didn't believe her. We started trailing Brooke and slowly narrowing down the location of where she was going to. And she was continuously going up to the same location, a campsite. One of Brooke's family members owned a trailer in this campground. After days of surveillance, the team is confident that this campsite is a prime location where Daniel was probably located at. And they hit the trailer and they find Daniel Lynn inside. I get the call and I'm heading straight up to this jail to talk to Brooke. I'm Daniel Lynn, who I've been looking for days now. And I get there, they both refuse to talk with me. They both refuse to cooperate in any way, and they lawyer up. I was very disappointed, especially in Brooke, that she wouldn't cooperate with us. And I feel like she was already being coached by Danielle to not talk to the police.
You ready to do this? This is a major tribute to her. Say how much we love her. And that no matter what, we're gonna always have her nearby. The biggest question, why did it'd have to turn into a murder.
When Danielle Lynn pled guilty, it's kind of an empty feeling. Because although a bad person is going away for something horrible that they've done, it doesn't change anything that's happened. Mary Robinson still goes without her daughter, and her kids still go without their mother.
I felt that Brooke Marie Lynn should have been charged with more. This girl grew up with my daughter. They were family to each other. To me, it was not fair that she still gets to breathe. She still gets to see her family. She still gets to talk to them.
So, look at this beautiful bench. What do you think of it?
I like it. Christina did not deserve to die. And 4 beautiful children who called Dan Uncle Dan and who called Brooke Aunt Brooke. 4 children have been split apart because their mom is not here.
Look at all the butterflies around us. Every time we see a butterfly, you think that's your mom?
Yeah.
Telling this story helped in so many ways, more than anybody could ever realize. It's been emotionally helpful to be able to put some closure. I have Haley to take care of now, and now I can move forward to help give her the life that she deserves, because that's what her mom would want.